Hello and welcome to Upper Pen. My name is Dakota, and today I get to talk with Beth Revis about her books. Thank you so much for joining me, Beth.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, I actually found you through your science fiction novellas. Can you tell folks a little bit about the premise of those?
The Chaotic Orbits trilogy is about Ada Lamar, who is a scavenger, you can say. She tends to help liberate objects from other people. She she's in it for the fun and profit, and she crosses paths with Ryan White, who's a government agent. So she's been looting a ship, and he wants something on that ship, and both of them have secrets they're not telling. It's basically a Sherlock and Moriarty tale in space with lots of explosions and jetpacks.
But there's also a cute little romantic subplot that's adorable in the very first one.
I have to have that romantic tension. Like they are so wrong for each other, but so right for each other.
And I do like that, she does a pretty good job of pulling one over his head.
Uh-huh. She always
Uh,
had the upper hand in that one for sure.
well, he's so sweet and kind of naive.
A little bit. Like he doesn't quite know what to do with a woman like Ada, which is perfect.
Well, he's also a little naive, as you point out in the second book. I'm not really going to talk much about the third because I don't want to get into spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it. But in the second book, she's stealing something, and
Yes.
he's there to stop her.
Mhm.
But he has such faith in the government that she's like, I don't. Ugh.
He is very much lawful good, and she is very much chaotic neutral. And I love playing with that sort of dynamic. Like he just cannot fathom anything not following the orderly way of the law, or like, of course you have to do this. This is the way it's done. He's a rule follower through and through. And she's just like, rules are made to be broken.
Well, she's also very much, my rules aren't made to be broken, though.
She spent some time figuring out what works best for her.
Um, how did you start this like heist in space?
This is my favorite question to get because if you read the first book, the dedication is to spite. And I meant that very literally because I was at a convention in Phoenix. It was Phoenix Fan Fusion, fantastic convention. Absolutely loved being there. But there was a person who approached my table who was a total jerk. And he just basically was like, you wrote for Star Wars, but you couldn't write a sci-fi on your own, and you couldn't do this, and you couldn't make it funny, and all like he just listed all the stuff he thought I couldn't do. And so I immediately, like, I did all my signing and like panels and everything, and canceled plans with my friends, went back to the hotel, and started writing this book. Because I was like, if you say I can't do it, I'm going to prove you wrong right now. And I had most of the first book done before I went home. Like that's how the righteous fury inside of me fueled that book.
It's amazing how much anger can and will fuel you.
Oh yeah. It has served me well.
So you had done a bunch of sci-fi before, though. Like you had all this other
Yeah.
stuff, and you had like a book of short stories that are sci-fi. Like, I don't understand the impetus of this statement.
Yeah, I mean, I started my career in sci-fi. I wrote the Across Universe trilogy, which is three books are murder mysteries in space. That's where I got my basis. Then I have short stories. I've written three books for Star Wars. I have a lot of sci-fi, but it's something that I get a lot, especially from men that
Yeah.
are shocked that a woman can write sci-fi. And it's almost every convention I go to. There is at least one guy who's like, "Oh, you're a girl." And I'm like, "Yeah, and I like spaceships." And it just seems to like blow their minds.
I used to have this idea of one of my legs being entirely covered in spaceships because those are the things I love.
I
So
like
like
it.
I don't understand this.
I will never understand that, but it is like it's definitely not all men, hashtag,
Yeah.
but it is something that almost every major event I've been to, at least one guy will have some comment. And it just so happened that at that specific convention, that one guy was just so over the top about it that I was like, now I have to prove you wrong and get a book deal out of it.
Yeah, make money. Come on.
It was pretty great, actually.
Speaking of conventions, you're going to, is it Romance Con or something in Milwaukee?
Yes, I will be at Romance Con in Milwaukee. Come say hi.
Ah, I live pretty close, so I was like, maybe this is the convention I'll go to this year.
I did the one I did it last year as well. It was really fun. I like
Oh,
that one a lot.
perfect. So I'll
Yes.
probably stop by our table.
Yay.
But your books aren't overly laden with sci-fi or romance either. So how do you keep that balance between just writing a romance and writing a sci-fi with romance?
Yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about a lot because in next fall, I will have a romantasy out, which is much more heavily romance focused. And so finding that, like, what makes them each different? Because Chaotic Orbits books, the romance is the subplot. Like,
Yeah.
the main plot is the heist in space and all the tricksy, twisty, turny mystery parts of it. And then the romance is there to just mess with their heads and distract them from what they actually need to do. Whereas the flip side of that had to be true for my other book. Like that one, the romance has to be front and center. And then surviving the monsters as they're going on their journey, which is what that story is about, had to become the secondary element. So it's just a matter of like which one comes first. But it's a balance that I struggle with, and I always kind of have to like finagle my brain around which thing to highlight more.
That makes sense. Do you ever find yourself making decisions based off what comes first then? Like, if this is a sci-fi, they're probably going to do this instead of this.
Oh, for sure. Like always, I have to try to think of who the character is, but then also where they are and what they want and how they're going about it. Like in the Chaotic Orbits, Ada wants to win the game she's playing more than she wants to be with Ryan. But the opposite is true in some of my other stories. But I mean, aside from romance, it's also like in the Chaotic Orbis books, I couldn't think of like left or right as my directions. I also had to consider up and down because they're in space and there is no up and down in space and things like that. And like, how do all these other elements impact everything that they're doing?
That sounds like a lot of thought that's going into these novellas because they are pretty short.
They're very short, but really complicated. And I had to learn science and math for them.
So you also have a series, The Fate of Magic, or Night of the Witch is the first one, and then The Fate of Magic, with Sara
Rash.
Raasch. And I can't imagine how you, who are thinking all these different like things, can write with another person.
Well, I think all authors are kind of like juggling all these other aspects in their heads. But actually writing with Sarah is so much easier because I have an immediate person who has their brain in that story with me. And so when I come up to one of these questions, I'm like, should they do this or should they do that? She knows the whole story and can give me like a logical, like, here's how we'll walk through it. And like the same is true of her too, like when she gets to that. But also it kind of goes towards your question about romance because Night of the Witch is historical. It's set during late medieval Germany, and I love history. History is one of my favorite topics, and I would write pages and pages and pages about the history, and then Sarah would be like, "Hey, just let them kiss," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's the point of that book."
Well, that book in particular is so I I don't know. I loved reading it so much because it does feel like you're steeped in this place and time. And then you have this like witch hunter who I would be like, I'm gonna punch you, sir.
Yes, yes, and he would have deserved it, even though he's kind of undercover.
Yes, bud. So
Yeah.
how did you guys come up with the witch books?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I had started a Slack group for overworked moms, and it was just people who were writers and also moms because we kind of became the default parent because we worked at home anyway. And so we were like, we have all these deadlines, but also we have to help our kid go through Zoom kindergarten. And we just needed an outlet where we could just complain and vent and talk. And then somewhere along those lines, somebody posted an article about the Trier witch trials. And Sarah and I were both discussing it because, in American history, we were taught about Salem,
Mhm.
and that was pretty much it. And it was like Salem was this isolated event, and none of the other history of the witch trials was ever talked about when I was in high school. And so we went down this rabbit hole of it. And then as we were just becoming fascinated with it, we started talking more and more about it. And we're like, oh, what if there's a witch hunter? And what if there's a witch? And what if they fall in love? And the whole story just sort of sprung up from that.
Okay. How did you choose who was going to write what?
That was actually, I don't remember how we actually chose it, but it was really pretty easy. Like, I think I was just like, oh, I'll do this one. And she was like, I'll do this one. So I wrote the character of Otto, and like, there was just never any like debate or worry about it. We just started writing it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Dieter is also horrifying.
Thank
Um,
you.
whatever nightmare he crawled out of, thanks.
I did a lot of Dieter, especially in the first book. But the kitten thing in the second book
Ooh.
came from Sarah. And like we kind of that's one reason why we work so well together because we try to one up each other and try to like if it's a gross out scene, we try to make the other one grossed out, or if it's romantic, we want to make the other one swoon. And so I started like originally in the original plan, Dieter was going to be saved by book two.
Ooh.
And I started writing his chapters and made him so evil. We got to the point where like, oh, no redemption for you, man. And so it just became that way because we were constantly trying to one up on each other.
Well, you already had Otto who you save effectively. I mean,
Yeah.
like he's not really that bad, but he's not great at the
Yeah.
beginning. Um,
Yeah. We already had one redemption arc. The other guy can burn.
uh, someone's got to be awful here.
Exactly.
The characters are so dramatically different, though. Like Fritzy doesn't really feel like Ada to me, and Otto doesn't feel like Ryan. And I think that is incredibly difficult sometimes to accomplish.
I'm very glad that you say that because I always worry about that because to a certain extent every single character I write has something of me in
Yeah.
them. And so they always have like some sort of overlapping like foundational ideas or something like that. So creating very distinct characters is something that I struggle with and I work hard to make sure that happens.
What kinds of things do you do to kind of distinguish between like characters?
One of the things I do is I try to focus on the world and what about their environment and their own personal history would shape them and change them. Like I did not consciously do this, but over the course of the past 10 years, in looking at all my books, I can see that I have some common themes over them all. Like somebody who tries to take away your choices is the bad guy, and things like that. But those themes come out differently depending on the world and the characters. And so once I layer in all those other elements, I hope it creates a distinct enough character.
Yeah, I think it really did though. And maybe it's the help of like Sarah in the witch books because she's there to bounce ideas off of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that back and forth. And there were some things that she would have Fritzy say that if I was writing Fritzy, it never even would have occurred to me to make that character be that way. But because it was so different, then I had to have Otto react into this whole different character dynamic, which made it a lot more fun.
Did you guys ever come up like butt heads against like what you think should happen or like decisions?
Not really. Like we come up with a chapter by chapter outline before we actually start writing, which is more Sarah's idea than mine. Because there are times when I'm like, "Hey, we could just wing it," and she's like, "No, what are you talking about, you crazy person?" Um, but having the chapter by chapter outline really helps. But there are times when like one or the other of us would have gotten to that point in the outline and we're like, "Ah, we don't think this is working anymore." And it's never been like a, no, you have to do this. It's always been like a back and forth communicative talk. Like we're just healthy people that go to therapy. So it worked out.
All right, I expect your next book to have therapy.
There's a little therapy talk in some of them. There's a lot of
Uh,
daddy issues with my next book with Sarah. So
what is your next book with Sarah then?
so it's coming out in October and it's called The Crimson Throne. And it is
Ah,
about Mary, Queen of Scots, and Elizabeth I. And a spy from Elizabeth's court goes to Mary, Queen of Scots' court. And Mary has a lady's maid who, that's the character. I wrote the girl this time. And she is actually also secretly a fae.
oh, that's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. There's political intrigue and the Fae and a Fae invasion. There's a lot, but it's fun and there's magic.
Is this one going to be a multi-book series as well, or?
Yep, it's going to be two, and
Okay.
it is set in the same world as Night of the Witch. So even though it's a different time period and different country and characters, it's the same universe. And you will see, if you read Night of the Witch, you will see some Easter eggs in Crimson Throne.
That is wonderful and fantastic because you're taking these real life places and times and doing stuff with them.
It's so much fun. These are some of my favorite time periods in history as well. Like researching Night of the Witch, Sarah and I both found out that we had ancestors living in Germany, and we were able to bring some of them like some of the places in there. Like the hometown where Otto comes from is where my family was able to trace their roots back into the
Aw.
1600s. So that was fun. But then like the Crimson Throne with the Scottish throne and that reign era, that is all my childhood hyper focus. And like I love writing about that. And I got to put in all my favorite bits. Like there's a murder on page one, and then Lord Darnley blows up by the end of the book, and it's fantastic.
All right. You said October, right?
October. Yep.
That's not the romantasy that you wrote though, right?
No, I've also got another one, a new duology coming out starting in the fall of next year.
Okay.
And all I can say about it is Vikings and dragons.
Oh, I'm down.
I
I'm
know
so
this is gonna be
down.
really fun to write.
Um, how how do you manage to juggle like so many books, I guess?
I have a lot of bills and I enjoy paying those bills. So that's part of it. But I think it helps like just with time because I've been doing this for a while now. And I remember when I started out thinking, oh, I could never write more than a book a year and like maybe I couldn't even do one a year. And like as time has gone on, especially with publishing schedules, because like some books will be done, but then you're waiting to get edits. So I'm like, what do I do with this time? It's my job. I should do something. And so suddenly all these books start overlapping, and then you're like, what's one more?
Do you think of it as like a 9 to 5 then? Like these are my set hours and this is what I'll do?
It's more like a 9 to 9. It's constant. I actually just got back a few days ago from a family vacation, and it was the first family vacation I can ever remember where I didn't take my laptop with me. And it was like kind of momentous. Like there were times when my kid even was like, "Ah, I guess mommy's gonna have to work this morning." I was like, nope. And it was kind of shocking to everyone, including me to a certain extent. So it's a little bit of a constant process. But I really like it. It's my hobby and my job
I
and
don't
my whole personality.
I don't know if people understand how much time it takes to write these types of books because you're doing a lot of research too.
There's a lot. Well, with the research, it also helps to just, I'm fascinated by this kind of stuff anyway. And so like on this vacation, my books that I read for fun were A History of Textiles and a archaeological report on a Viking ship and some other like nonfiction type. Like I just like the nerdy things anyway. So that kind of helps. Like I'm relaxing with this book about, you know, the Norman conquest. So
The real question is, can you now use those book purchases as tax write-offs?
yes.
Yes.
All book purchases are tax write-offs, and it's fantastic.
I don't know why this is like the feeling of one-upping the government I get.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, add up to much, but I'm keeping some of that cash.
Um, so the Chaotic Orbits books are pretty heavily focused on political and social structures and like the negativity of things that happen. How did you get to that as your
It was actually a little bit of a surprise because I wrote all these were all completely written and done before Elon Musk blew up our government and
Oh.
before Trump won the second election. Like these were all done and written before that. So I hate to be a little prophetic in that nature. But I don't know. I mean, it's you can kind of see the writing on the wall even before those things happen. Like the fact that we have the super rich becoming involved in politics. And that was something that actually, in another one of my nonfiction reads, Careless People, which is about Facebook and its founder, and how there's a chapter at the end talking about how Mark Zuckerberg was really seriously considering running for president and how he can manipulate Facebook to support his political campaign. And I was like, oh God, that would be horrible. But I mean, people who have money want to have power and they have the means to buy it.
Well, now I have to go find Careless People and be
It's
sad.
really good. Yeah, oh, it's such a good book. It's really intense and it's going to make you hate everybody at Facebook.
I
But
mean, I
even
feel like
more.
I'm there.
Yeah, it was an intense read. There was so much I didn't know about the underpinnings and the political aspect of it,
Mhm.
and it's kind of disheartening to see how careless these people were.
So one of the things in book two of Chaotic Orbits is you have these protesters outside of this big gala event,
Hmm.
and then by the endish, you find out that they're being funded by people who like by
Hmm.
bad people. It hurts to think that this is like a real thing, though.
Yeah, but this sort of manipulation of societal ideas is something that we see all the time in the algorithm on social media. Like the way outrage generates views and generates content, and that generates change,
Hmm.
and it's all manipulated by what feeds the algorithm. And so taking that to like one step further and putting it in a real life situation just seemed logical. And like these sort of you know, false flags happen constantly and it's really damaging to us. And we have to think about why are we enraged and where does that rage come from and who does it serve? Because a lot of people are like, oh, social media is free. And I'm like, it's not free. You're the product that's being bought. Your eyes, your attention, your influence is what's being bought by that.
That's wholly depressing but real.
I know, right? But that's why I had to write a book where somebody blows it all up, literally.
When I was going to school, I wanted to write my thesis on how and why people believe like outrageous
Mm.
things on the internet. And it was right when Trump was running for the first time, and it got too much. Like it was just how do you balance like you want to write these beautiful stories that are true, but like you can't go crazy.
Yeah, and it is the story has to come first for me. So especially in
Okay.
these, because these are not nonfiction. So I am allowed to have some of the escapism. And there's a kind of a famous Doctor Who line. I'm heavily influenced by Doctor Who, where the doctor is like, just this once, everybody lives.
Yeah.
And I kind of approached that with this book, like just this once, everybody who's good wins. And even like no matter what happens, like in the end, the good guys actually win and the bad guys don't. And just this once, I'm allowed to have this escapist moment. And I think we need that to be able to fight the real life stuff.
I do think The Doctor Dances is one of the best episodes.
There's so much Doctor Who influence like throughout all of my books. Like I can't like in the upcoming I'm not going to talk about the Viking Dragons book all the time, but the dragons regenerate like the Doctor.
Oh,
It's like I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to do this. And so I love
oh,
Doctor Who.
it's Phoenix influenced, right? It doesn't have to
Exactly.
be.
Oh, I don't even pretend. I put it in the acknowledgments. I'm like, I totally ripped this idea off of Doctor Who, but they're dragons.
I feel like he's a dragon sometimes too, though.
It counts. Yes. Peter Capaldi was a dragon.
Christopher Eccleston was a quiet, mean dragon.
I can see that. Yes.
So what do you have like a list of all the projects you want to be working on next? Like,
I do, I actually do have several that are in the pipeline. I list them out on New Year's Eve. I listed out 5 different books I want to write. And then like all the ideas I had for them because I was afraid I would lose them. And I'm just now working on 2 of them, like simultaneously. Like I have 2 Scrivener documents and I work on one until I get stuck and then I open the other and work on it. So it's not necessarily healthy, but yeah.
that kind of brings up a good point. Scrivener is such a good program, but it is paid.
Mhm.
So what are the benefits that make you want to choose Scrivener over like a free version of something?
Oh yeah, no, I am a big proponent of Scrivener. If you have a Macintosh computer, like if you have a PC, I can't evaluate that one. But Scrivener to me is worth it because it is more of a distraction-free zone. And what I break it up by chapters, and then I can easily go in between chapters. And I heavily use the split screen function. So I'll have like my outline on the top and then be writing on the bottom or something like that. And it my brain just works well to draft there. And then I take it out of Scrivener and I change the font and I edit it in a different program. And then that sort of helps change that, like switching from drafting mode to editing mode.
Scrivener tracks changes too, though, right? Like you can see if you've changed something.
I think it does. I've never used that. There are so many bells and whistles on that program I just never use. I just used a stripped down version that works for my brain.
Perfect. I just think it's so important that people understand like these tools do exist that
That's
really
so
help.
true. Yeah, I have tried to use like the cork board and some other elements of that. And that's one of the beauties to me of Scrivener is that there are so many different aspects of it that you just take what works best for you.
I used Campfire for a little while, but it had too many features and I got so distracted.
I've never heard of that one.
It's like an online one, like it's web-based, I guess. But
Mhm.
so you have a bunch of projects that you're going to be working on, and you're working on two at the same time.
Well, technically 3, because I also have a Patreon book, a serialized novel that I'm
Yeah.
doing. And if you count the edits I'm going to get next week from the Crimson Throne 2, it'll be 4 at one time.
How do you keep your head on straight with what's going on in each book?
Oh, I have no personal hygiene in my house is a mess. And that's very, very sincere. Like I just forget everything else and I just focus on that. And I'm like, if we're eating chicken nuggets 3 nights in a row, we're eating chicken nuggets. It'll be all right.
Dino Nuggies are baller. Like,
Exactly.
so speaking of your Patreon, though, your Global Quest book that you're writing is so interesting and kind of cool how you're doing it. Um, i- Give people a little rundown of what you're doing.
So Global Quest is a story about a girl who got an inheritance that instead of a lump sum of money, she's going on basically a scavenger hunt and she's competing against one other boy who happens to be hot in her age and they're not directly related or anything. So, so she has to figure out these clues that her grandfather left her to figure out all the ways to go down this path to find whatever treasure is the real inheritance. And this enabled me to put in all my obscure historical knowledge that I can never fit into my other books. I'm like, this details going into here. And so it's been a lot of fun to like list these clues. And then on Patreon, I'm doing it so that each month the clues are mailed to the Patreon subscribers. So they get like a little postcard with the actual clue and some additional background history of like wherever they're going to be going to next.
I have been getting these postcards and I never get it. Like I would not win this at all.
I'm so glad people also will say things like, "Oh, the clues were so hard. How could you ever come up with them?" And it's super easy if you know the solution before you make the clue.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. That's how I did it all in like chaotic orbits too. Like I knew how Ada was gonna get what she was gonna get, so I could just make up all the clues on my own. It's a lot easier on this side of the desk.
But so is there like are you planning to ever publish this book to a wider audience? Like what's the
Mhm.
plan?
So I'm gonna serialize a chapter a week on Patreon, and then once that book is done, I'll edit it, get a cover, and we'll self-publish it.
Because you also did this with another one, Museum of Magic? Is that
Museum
it?
of Magic
Yeah.
and House of Hex.
Yeah.
Museum of Magic was written a little bit differently because I also did that one during the pandemic. And so in order to connect with people again, what I did because my D&D group broke up because of the pandemic, I turned writing the book into a D&D session. And so every major choice that my character had to make, I would roll the dice for it. And she would either like pass or fail based on that. I basically role played her character. And at the end of every chapter, I had my readers vote for what they wanted her to do in the next chapter. And so it was really interactive and a lot of fun. But they made the wrong choice once. Like it was a very obvious, like the whole point of the book was don't trust the Fae. And they voted to trust the Fae. And so then I had to write a whole sequel just to like counteract that point that they did. So so now it's two books.
Did they get a choice in that second one?
I did continue to let them have choices, but I was like, this is gonna end, and if you kill her, you kill her.
That's pretty fun though, because like it's like so chaotic in my brain that
Yeah. It was really it was fun. It was kind of rough, and I think I could only have done it during the pandemic because I could never get ahead.
oh
I
yeah.
could never like outline things. I kind of only knew one chapter ahead of time and that was it. And I had to come up with all the different choices and all the different scenarios. So if I had to do anything else, I don't think I could have done it because it was almost like writing 10 books at once because I had to think through all the different storylines to ultimately get a real book.
Well, that seems like a lot of editing on the back end
There's a
afterwards.
lot of that. I lined my hallway with butcher block paper and had like all these graphing charts and lines going everywhere. I look like a crazy person.
That must have been fun for your family. Don't touch those
Yeah.
papers.
My kid's a little bit used to it, but he would walk by every once in a while and be like, "What are they doing?" I'm like, I don't even know, kid.
Listen, there's no good answer.
No, no.
So after you finish Global Quest, you said you're gonna self-publish it.
Mhm.
Do you prefer to self-publish stuff like that?
It kind of depends on the book. The ones I'm doing with Patreon, I designed those to be self-published. Like I when it from the start, I was like, I will never try to traditionally publish these. It's going to start here, it's going to end here, and this is what I'm going to do. And I really did not anticipate liking this hybrid sort of career as much as I do, but having this balance of this is the work of art that I 100% completely control. And then this is the work of art that I collaborate with other people on. It's good for my brain and it really makes sense for me. And it also like I get the bulk of my income from traditionally published books, but sometimes I'll have three contracts in a year and sometimes I'll have zero. So having the self-published as like a bridge between those pillars really helps a lot.
The Patreon's got to help just a little bit too, like every month, just even if it's a small amount, like
Yeah, I call it having lots of little irons in the fire. So, like, I don't always get to pull out the big iron, but at least I have a lot of little irons that I can kind of rely on.
Now I'm understanding your 9 to 9 schedule.
Right? Not necessarily the healthiest balance of work and life, but
Well, you do what you got to do, but also what you want to do. So,
yes. And I really don't want to have a job where I have to wear hard pants every day.
uh, I work at a university in a basement, so I wear whatever I want, and they can fire me if they really need to.
Yeah.
So you have all these projects that are coming up. Normally at the end here, I ask what you're working on next, but I feel like that's a loaded question.
A little bit, yeah, sorry. I kind of stole that one from you.
Do you have any plans to keep working with Sarah in the future then, after the Crimson Throne?
Yes. So we have, it was actually a multi-book deal. So we have The Crimson Throne and its sequel, and then we're going to have another duology after that. So
Mhm.
you will be stuck with me and Sarah for quite a while.
Perfect. I'm so excited. And for anybody who wants to meet you,
Mhm.
September 4th and 5th or something is Romance Con in Milwaukee. So if you're nearby, I would go. There's going to be so many authors. So,
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. You should go.
well, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
And if anybody out there has not picked up a Beth Revis book, I cannot suggest them more. They're just so fun, honestly. Ugh.
I'm biased, but I think they're pretty good.
They're what I needed though during the end of the pandemic when I was like, this is just depressing.
Just this once, the good guys blow everything up.
Yes. And it turns out good.
And it turns out good, but with explosions.
Well, thank you again so much for talking with me.
Yay, thank you for having me.
And I hope everybody out there has a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Bye.